Our last topic for homeostasis is how your body regulates problems or changes in the environment in different directions. And we do that through the idea of dueling mechanisms. So mechanisms that control a certain characteristic in different directions. And I'm going to kind of walk through an example that I think will clarify this topic. So thermoregulation is a fancy way of saying controlling our body temperature. Sweating is how we cool our body down, whereas shivering is how we warm our body up. We have two different mechanisms controlling the way our body needs to change its temperature. We don't use shivering for warming up and cooling down. We have a separate mechanism for that cooling our body off. So we see these mechanisms or these pairs of mechanisms coming up a lot. Like with blood pressure, we have vasoconstriction, which is where we close or constrict the blood vessel, or vasodilation, which is where we open the blood vessel up. And we can regulate our blood pressure through the combination of constriction and dilation. Osmoregulation, which is a fancy way of saying the regulation of water, is controlled through the way water moves when it's in a hypotonic solution or a hypertonic solution. Those are ways to regulate how much water is inside of our cells. We talked about and walked through a simulation of blood sugar in class. And we only looked at one side of regulating blood sugar. We looked at the insulin side. So I kind of want to walk through the other side of this, the glucagon pathway, so you can kind of see the differences in the hormones that regulate blood sugar. So insulin, you'll remember, is produced by beta cells in the pancreas. It's released when blood sugar is high or blood glucose is high, and it makes sure that glucose can enter target cells. That's what insulin does, is it allows glucose to enter cells. Glucagon works when your blood sugar is low or your blood glucose level is low. It's produced by alpha cells in the pancreas, and what it does is it triggers your liver to break down its storage of glucose in the form of glycogen. This molecule here is glycogen. Glycogen is a complex molecule made up of glucose. And so when we break down glycogen in our liver, we can send that out into our bloodstream as glucose. So if you start to have low blood glucose levels, you'll break down glycogen and release it into your bloodstream. And this allows you to help regulate how much food you need to eat. And it allows you to keep your cells going through cellular respiration, even when you can't be putting food in your mouth every single second. And this is kind of important. It means that we don't have to eat every single second of every single day. It allows us to eat at certain times and wait for the next meal before we need to eat again. So as you're thinking about these different organs and different hormones and different triggers and different systems, think about how much body we use to process and keep homeostasis at constant levels. A lot of our organs are dedicated to keeping us in that homeostatic range. We're keeping our homeostasis in place. Do we have organs that are involved in every single homeostasis process? Think about organs that might not be involved in that kind of process. And what might happen if we have a breakdown in a system where we don't have it functioning properly. So think about all of these things, and these are going to be topics we discuss in class, but make sure that you're thinking about them and kind of coming up with your own answers to these questions.